want to play it eventually. Okay. Well, great. So I'm going to be spending a lot of time talking about my trip to Peru. And we're going to start by, did anyone ever see this announcement? This came in 2012. This was an earlier announcement that was posted to the whole school, where Dr. Tafur came from Peru. He's an integrative physician. He's an MD in Arizona who runs a Peru clinic. So this is a talk that was at the passed around from SCNM, and it was presented over at the Southwest Herbs place. So I heard him present, and it was just so cool, I had to do it. So I decided to do a special trip to Peru. This was over the summer, August to September 2012. And I arranged where I got all my summer shadowing hours done early, so I would take this trip. I even arranged that this was community service hours, which, you know, that's another possibility to make use of your time here. And so I'm going to be talking about my trip to Peru, some of the healing modalities that they use there, some of the amazing shamanic medicine, what the nature is like out there. It's a really phenomenal place, and I want you all to experience it. So the flight was pretty long. It went from LA to Panama City and down to Peru. This is a picture of the Amazon River, and it's huge. It's like when I was flying down over it, it looked like a windy, just this windy, dirty river, and as you get closer, it gets pretty muddy because it's slow. And this is the Menai River itself. This is the river that is at the mouth of the Amazon. I went to Iquitos, Peru, which is one of the largest cities that's totally surrounded by water, specifically the Amazon River, and we had a chance to swim in this lake. And it's a pretty amazing experience because you're only an hour from the equator, like hour traveling. So the sun is a lot more intense. It doesn't seem like it. I'm used to Arizona sun, but this is way more intense. So I thought this is a good book to open up the topic because anyone who's heard about Malidoma Patrisone, he is a cross-cultural shaman from Africa, and he's saying now is the time that we really need to reconnect with nature, reconnect with who we are, reconnect with ritual. And I saw in Peru especially that, you know, this is a really powerful ritual that is done for 3,000 years, and it's just a great healing opportunity. I think as naturopaths too, it's very valuable to connect with nature cures and rituals that have been around for thousands and thousands of years. You know, other rituals would be like a Native American sweat lodge. You know, every major indigenous culture around the world has powerful rituals that connect you with nature. So this was the center, Niurao, and what I like about them is that they're really practicing medicine the way it was traditionally done for 3,000 years in Peru. The Shipibo culture dates back to trading with the Incas, and they've been relatively untouched. It's only been until recently that they decided that American, they call it gringo shamans, become interested in traveling down to Peru and experiencing their medicine. For a long time, the Shipibo people were sort of put on the back burner, marginalized, because no one thought they had anything valuable to offer. But as people are discovering, they have this intact medicine that hasn't been destroyed or polluted or corrupted by Europe when they came to settle, colonize South America, because it's in the jungle, it's in the mountains. I mean, it is so remote to get to the center. It takes an hour. Once I got into Peru, there's a motor car that takes you out to the center, which is at the edge of the Amazon. And half the year it's flooded. You can't even get there unless you have a boat. So I went in the dry season. That's why I think September, August are good times of year to go. Definitely good times of year to go. Now the other thing to realize is that people come here for exploration. They also come with chronic syndromes and situations that nobody else can heal. So they're just at the end of their rope. But they're really experiencing a lot of healing. And the people who come here are called pasajeros, because in the Shipibo world, the philosophy is that we're on a spaceship called Earth. It's not just a planet, it's a spaceship. Yeah, and they include healing ceremonies, apprenticeship programs, and plant medicine instruction. So that's what I like about this place, is that it's a combination of all the above. And as what I saw there, many of the problems people come with have a psycho-spiritual basis. So somebody had a chronic autoimmune issue for 50 plus years, nobody could help him. And apparently he had a bad childhood, and you know, the ceremonies themselves got to the root of what that was all about. So this is such a beautiful place. It's such a beautiful place. The animal is one of the creatures that you'll encounter in the forest. And there are no snakes, no bitey things that I was able to see other than just bugs. You can just get used to some bugs. But, oh, hey, I got my ASU posse over here. Thank you, guys. They were at one of my other talks I gave in other classes. So this is this building over here, the large one with the lights. That is the cafe. This one is more like just like a hangout house. There's a hammock inside. That's where you get to meet with the physician and get your intake done. And it's a pretty big place. What's interesting is that the whole land, it's sandy, where the rest of the jungle is overgrown. So the message by the shaman was this place was meant for medicine, for ritual, because it did not need any extra clearing. It was just available for us. So you have a chance to meet the cast and crew, and again, the nature is just so pervasive. Now, I talked a bit about the Shipibo culture. Some of the artwork is just stunning. In fact, I'll pass around some of the art. So this is a weave, and just pass it around. And these are some beads. You'll see Shipibo artwork is really beautiful, really colorful, really geometric. And each weave is unique. They have no mass production whatsoever. I bought this shirt for like $5. I should have bought like 20 of them because I love them so much. And the people are really sweet. I asked them about stress. They don't understand what the concept means. And you live in the freaking jungle, you walk to work, you have no stress. The food and shelter and clothing, those basic needs are all met. And as I realized that they have a very different concept of life. Very different concept of life. So this was one of the local Shipibo villagers who does these designs. And these are the patterns they actually see. This is just the way they see the world. Which is really interesting because I'll mention some other books later that talk about the pineal gland in the brain being piezoelectric and having these effects that you are able to see the sort of geometric configurations when that perceptual sense is open. So the Amazonian system of healthcare is really different because it involves healers from all walks of life. There were actual bone setters. I know Dr. Nick talked about bone setters. I actually saw a bone setter, and she actually would like punch a bone into place. It was the craziest thing. It wasn't exactly a chiropractic manipulation. She would snap a bone into place. And it's a tradition going on there, so that was pretty amazing. Obviously, ayahuasqueros, those are the shamans that work with the ayahuasca that I'll talk about. Pepequeros, these are shamans who work specifically by healing you using tobacco. And their perception is that the tobacco has certain beings inside it, and certain energies you can direct with your intention. So during a ceremony, if they see your energy blocked, they'll actually smoke this and then blow it in a certain direction to clear off an energy field disruption. And this specific kind of tobacco, and I'll pass some of these around, please don't smoke it. It's tobacco rusticana, I believe. It's one of the other tobaccos that's more intense with nicotine. And it's very pure. I guess it's organic. They don't add any additives to it. In fact, the shaman rolled it. This is one of the things he uses. And the combinations are pretty basic, as you can see, but they were tons of fun. This was a 10 by 10 hut I got to stay in the jungle. So imagine sleeping there night after night. It's just an amazing experience. Initially, it was hard to get used to the sounds because it was so loud. There were just birds and crickets and animals. And it's very primal, but after about 3 or 4 days, I got a feeling of, wow, I went into parasympathetic mode and just started getting some really delicious sleep. And I started getting, slowed down. By the way, technology really doesn't work there that much. Just an hour a day is when the internet's on a generator, so you start getting really lean on technology. And I started realizing how much freer I felt without having to check my email like 57 times a day. Even in a 10 by 10 hut, you feel really expansive because, it's this luminous mesh netting, and there's also usually hammocks in the room. There is a mesh netting over your bed so you don't have bugs get to you. So I really appreciated that part of it. And let's see. When you first get there, they actually give you a vomitive. It's called ayucena, I believe. And it's just something you drink. It was like creamy, and I drank it. And everybody has to do this. And this is the physician who had to go through this himself. basically it's to clean out your GI and get it ready for the plant medicine, get it ready for the food that's there. So I drank a bowl, I went, I feel fine. And like half an hour later, Dr. Tafur, this is him and me walking, and I went, something really nasty. But I felt really better afterwards, and this is the plant that grows locally that's considered a purgative. And purgatives are an important part of the Shipibo way in thinking. This is the staff that I had a chance to meet. They're really just amazing, beautiful people. Svita, she's a visionary artist and a yoga instructor. She does facilitations. Ricardo in the middle wearing the red. He is a very well-trained shaman. He must have done hundreds of these ceremonies, night after night, and very gifted. He's truly a light worker. And that's Dr. Tafur over here. So they are all business partners, set up this clinic in 2011. So one of the components of the Shipibo life is this master diet. Master diet, master plant diet is really interesting because I think in our training we're really taught about plants as nutritive and healing effects. But one of the interesting things that they see plants as, it has a teaching effect. So plants do three things in the Shipibo worldview. Number one, they teach. Number two, they heal. And number three, they nutrify. So a master plant, what's a master plant? Master plant is one that heals and teaches. Now what does it mean to have a plant as a teacher? Well, examples of these plants are coca, so cocaine coca, but you can actually get the coca leaves in Peru. Tea grows readily. You can just get it off in the street. And that is a teaching plant. So if you're in a meditative state and you work with the plant for a long time, you will be able to get insights and learnings from that. That is something one needs to experience, not simply read about, because that is a wild thing indeed. There were some other plants that you're prescribed. Pinon Blanco, Chirisanango, all these plants do different things. Pinon Blanco is designed to bring more light into your being. Chirisanango is designed to strengthen your body. So when I went there, they gave me Chirisanango, a few other people got Pinon Blanco, and this is the intake. Once you get there, the shaman and physician meet with you and decide what are your benefits. Are you there to explore? Are you working on a health condition? Often they're related. This was a house of medicine. It's really sweet. This is a tiny hut that these medicines are made daily, that you come in at 4 or 5 o'clock at night or in the afternoon, and they'll give you your daily drink. The medicine, it tastes green, it just tastes like wheatgrass juice or something, but it's really important you take it consistently so the medicine can do its work. And if it's indicated, you'll also do a flower bath, which is really delightful. And all these medicines grow indigenously. They'll just go out in the jungle 50 feet away and pick them and give them to you. So there's something very powerful. Even after 5 or 6 days for me to take it, I felt a lot, I felt the energy of the jungle with me a lot more strongly. The animals to me are supernaturally cute and amazing. You see this dog with the glowing blue eyes and this little wrath of puffball, as I like to call this guy. Right here, puffball. And how do we get rid of that annoying smart link? I feel like our professors who say that's not so smart, these links, it's not so smart. Okay. So the menu, this is part of the dieta. So you do not simply go there to do medicine, you don't simply go there to do ceremony, you actually go and eat specific foods that cultivate your openness to the plant medicine and the healing if possible. The kind of diet they have, a lot of green foods, some grains like quinoa is really popular, and they'll give you sometimes organic chicken and or fish. There's certain specific fish they like to have you eat that don't eat other fish, just green eating fish. So that was, and the fish that they gave was really spiny. There's also plantains, salad. You don't go hungry, but you kind of get over your food addictions because this is all the only kind of food they serve. If you eat the wrong kinds of foods with salt, with sugar, with fat, it destroys the ability of the plant to connect with you. And that's one of the parts of the healing. That's the mysterious element of what happens. So this is a really social place. There's maybe 10 or 15 of us. So breakfast, lunch, and dinner, we chat here, and fun will be had by all. There's tea. The staff is just delightful. They always have a smile on their face. So this is where it gets kind of fun. Once you're here, once you're settled in, once you have your place to stay, once you're on your diet, then the shamanic ceremonies begin. They're held 4 times a week, and around the clock, basically, when they're held, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, I believe. And here is them preparing the tea. So there's a little hut outside next to the medicine hut, And you see one of the workers making it, and they're just happy as can be, just making the tea. One of the major teas used in the ceremony, pretty much exclusively, is the ayahuasca vine. It's called the sacred medicine of the jungle. It's one of the strongest master plant medicines they have there. This is an optional participatory element. You can sit in the ceremony and not have the tea. What's interesting about ayahuasca, it's been studied medically, and it has MAO inhibitors and naturally occurring DMT. So it's very interesting that the vine and the root, when you combine together, it has a certain effect. So this is the root part, and before that is the vine. How would Native American indigenous people know to mix a vine and a root? There's like 10,000 different plants in the jungle. The odds of that alone are not calculable. However, the legend is that they were working with another plant, and the plant told them to mix these two together to continue the medicine, to bring the medicine to the people. And really the job of the shaman is to take whatever information they can from nature and from realms and bring it back in. So these are called MAO inhibiting harmala alkaloids. Interestingly enough, harmaline, before it was called harmaline, it was going to be called telepethine. So think about that for a moment. It's supposed to be an amine neurotransmitter that's designed to increase the ability to receive information. So what does that even mean about what we really are capable of? So the chakruna as well, that's the vine part. So they're mixed in a tea. And it takes 6 hours, and they keep singing and having a merry old time when they make the tea, because they feel this is really sacred for the people. So this is one of the active parts in the ayahuasca tea, dimethyltryptamine. It's associated with we've studied some biochemistry, tryptophan, hydroxytryptamine, serotonin, melatonin. It's related to that pathway, very chemically similar. It's naturally in the brain, and there's a physician, Rick Straussman, MD, who did some good studies in New Mexico on people who've done DMT therapeutically, and everything from, this is a component in the brain that's high when you're at birth, at death, during transcendent experiences, and with mystical insights. So the reason why it's used in these ceremonies is because it facilitates the ability for people to have vivid imagery, and it's actually not considered hallucinations. Here's a study done with functional MRIs saying when you're doing a task with ayahuasca, it activates parts of the brain involved in recall and parts of the visual cortex and frontal cortex. So it means you're working with yourself in a way that's really vivid. Each session is like 100 hours of normal psychotherapy. And in fact, it's used in South America therapeutically for drug and alcohol addictions. It cleans out the receptors. So the conclusion of this study was that by boosting the intensity of these images to the level of a neural image or a natural image, it lends a status of reality to your inner experiences. So it's understandable why this kind of medicine was used by shamans to facilitate their healing experiences. And also there's maps.org if you're interested in more research. There are many different groups around the world doing research on, I guess you call them psychoactive substances, natural indigenous substances for healing. So this was the place we do our ceremonies, called the Maloka. And it's like the center of literally the center of the center. And it's a really beautiful construct. You can't quite get how stunning it is until you're there. There's always the best sunset, so I figured these two go together. This was one of the sunsets of my first night there. And there's places to hang and relax. This was what the ceremony looks like inside. We each get a mat and some blankets and pillows. The ceremony started at 8 p.m. and it's a really beautiful experience because you see there's a white board over to your left. This is the whiteboard of the songs that the curandero sings. The curandero is another word for shaman. And curandero, these are special icaros. These are spiritual songs that they sing. Now, what I'm doing is I passed around a CD of icaros. It's a little free gifty for everybody who's here. May not have time for everyone to burn it, but I gave it to Matt to burn. If you can pass it around or what have you. These are really beautiful songs. If we have time, I'll play some for you. The Icaros have to be experienced. They really are. The Icaros sound like, I guess the best thing I could call is a cosmic rock concert. But the shaman has the gift of being able to connect with you in a deep way where he can see what's going on inside you, inside your body, inside your energetic field. So with his song, if it's your turn, he'll come and sing to you, you come up to him, and he'll clear your field with his song. And you can actually experience that clearing as he's doing it, or as she's doing it. In fact, there's usually a female shaman and 2 male shamans doing this work. For the first 2 hours of the ceremony, the shaman's basic job is just to clear the space, to create, it's like their songs are a form of prayer. So as you just sit there and relax and meditate and reflect, the space opens up in a really beautiful way. And the energy just shifts and changes. It's really magical. And during those 2 hours, your job is just to reflect and think. What are your healing intentions for the ceremony? What would you like to heal? What questions do you have that you'd like to answer? Because you can go there to explore or to heal. Setting is key. This is why they want to do this in a sacred setting where this plant was growing, in the setting it was intended for. So I mentioned with the songs in the Icaros, let's say if you're feeling nauseous, they'll actually sing to you and the nausea will go away. If you have a bad reaction to some vision that you're having, that will clear as well. And that's something, again, you have to experience it to believe it. And then after the shaman calls you when he feels guided to have you come up and be sung to, when you're done you sit down and you reintegrate what you just experienced. So some people had profound healings just from hearing the song. One of the people who was there, I mentioned before, he had chronic autoimmune issues, and during one of the ceremonies, he had a memory of his childhood that got cleared really quickly when he sat with the shaman to get sung to. The shaman was perceiving some dark energy, kept singing to it, singing to it, singing to it. The energy had cleared. He felt the clearing, the shaman felt the clearing, and all lived happily ever after. He woke up in the morning and felt like a new man. He felt like this was a spiritual renaissance. So he stayed a few more months just to keep enjoying his time here. So one of the ways of envisioning how and why this works so well is a model that includes just physics, biology, biochemistry, but also goes into the mind, the subtle bodies, the spirit, the causal bodies. So the shaman's world is a magical world that integrates the dream world with the waking, the seen world. And that's where some of the magic happens. If you're trying to heal an illness or a condition that was caused by a bad memory, some psycho-spiritual illness, obviously treating the physical side alone is not enough. You really want to treat other levels where it originally started. That's why I really liked being there, because I felt like I was witnessing an authentic nature cure approach that actually tried to look at the root cause. I like to look at the root cause. Here are some of the visions that people experience before, during, or after the ceremonies. I mean before, during, after, because once someone's really attuned to the shamanic medicine, even when the ceremony starts, you can actually have a feeling that you're already entering that magical world. So it's very rich with imagery. A lot of the sounds and colors around you are inspired by that. Here you see some definitely rainbows, some ascended figures, some light beings. This was some other recent art that was facilitated by Svita, who was the artistic director in residence. Colors are very luminous, sometimes having visions of snakes or serpents is common. Jeremy Narby wrote about DNA and the cosmic serpent. He was a Stanford researcher. He claims that the people who see snakes might actually be seeing DNA, might actually perceiving the DNA that's contained in their body. And there was some research on DNA having psychoactive or psycholuminous effects, if you might want to say. It vibrates at certain frequencies that are like biophotons, that with certain machines you could see. And this is perhaps the luminosity people see. Very amazing, very mysterious. Placebo effect. One of the ways to explain all this is the placebo effect. I mean, why do some medications work that are just saline or sugar when you have a positive anticipatory response? So the placebo effect is part of this whole process, and we can't negate it. And this is one of the book that Joe gave me to read because he felt that it helped us understand what's going on. And also, there's a lot of meaning attached to this. You're really engaged with your healing. You're not just taking a pill and popping and going home. You're not just taking a vitamin or a tea. You're actually actively engaged in working with yourself and reflecting on what is it that got me sick, or better yet, how can I grow? What's really interesting about this, and this was an innovation by Dr. Dufour, he's done grand rounds before. He's a family physician, and it's common to talk about your cases. So every morning after the ceremony, people reflect on what happened. Everyone takes turns. Sometimes it can take hours, but if you learn a lot about yourself and other people, everyone takes turns discussing their experience. The shaman might give them advice or reflections or how to change what they were experiencing, how to open to it more. Some people had positive experiences, some people missed the point of what their healing was, so the shaman helps keep them on track. So I really like the fact that there was a lot of discussion and integration. Often they'll need to adjust the treatments, so sometimes the medicine isn't working. So this was one of Dr. Dufour's first success results. This guy, this is not common to have a snake, that's just rolling around where we were. We were more of in a clearing space in the jungle, so the snakes weren't as prevalent, but this guy was a Vietnam vet suffering from PTSD. He tried everything. He was definitely on some serious psychotropic meds, and they weren't working. He was not satisfied. So he was given the vomitive when he got there. The body was ready for the dieta, which included the food, and then he was prescribed the master plant Ahosacha, and then he participated in the ceremonies. So after a few ceremonies, his hypertension was handled, his blood pressure medicines were under control, his sugar was regulated. Of course, he got weaned off the beta blocker, and he also got off his psychiatric meds after years and years of addiction to those. And that was the first time he was able to get off the meds since Vietnam. And of course, obviously the dieta helps because of the food. I mean, he wasn't given too much salt and not too much sugar. And you actually do lay off the sex as well there. So just go through all our glucocorticoids and so forth. You lay off the sex because they want you to be pure with the plant. They don't want you to mix your healing energies with other people. And once you go home, that's anybody's bet. But once you're there, they want you to stay focused on your own healing process. So other cases, I saw people who were alcoholic. They got purged. Their alcoholism, one woman said she perceived the alcoholism as a dark spirit inside her stomach. And during one ceremony, she saw that leave. And then later, she didn't feel the craving for alcohol the way she did before. So the fact that it was such a vivid experience for her, I think made it more real and compelling for her to get over her alcoholism because of that symbology that happened, the visual imagery. Child abuse cases, chronic fatigue I mentioned, definitely depression cases. It's been hypothesized that this tea medicine that they take during the ceremonies cleans out brain receptors, which is quite possible. Fun was definitely had by all. I mean, this is definitely a joyous, light-filled experience, and a lot of celebration. Sometimes during the ceremony, you kind of hit a hard spot because you reflect on yourself and realize things that you might have forgotten or unpleasant things, but you just keep clearing, and life moves on, and often people just wake up. They feel so joyful, like they're, 10 years, 100 years of birds were lifted off from them. So I know we're short on time, and I wanted to get as much of this done as I could, and also let people know if they wanted to get more info, where to turn to. The website is called nihuerao.org, Nihuerao, nihuerao.org. And Nihuerao is the name of the master plant that the center was named after. The reason why is that plant grew in serious abundance in that clearing. Nihuerao is considered a cosmic teacher plant. If you diet with it for 6 months, under the shaman's supervision, you will have a much deeper perception of nature world. Let's just say you want to study the moon. You don't just study it by researching it. You can actually travel to the moon with your mind. That's the shaman's claim. And initially, Ricardo did not open up Nihuerao to the public, and he'll select student by student, but he's wanting the West to connect with this medicine. He feels we have a lot to learn from each other. He says Americans come down, and we look so stressed out, so pale, so aged, just life wore us down to a nub. And you look at the locals, and they're just happy as can be. The air is so fresh there. The freshest air I've ever smelled. 20 to 30% of all the oxygen in the world is produced or recycled in the Amazon. It's like the lungs of the earth is considered. So that was really powerful, just to be in that healing setting. And So you're there doing this healing work, and the shamans can expand what kind of work they do with you. You can just go there for a week. Some people went over for a long weekend. When the woman came from Wall Street, she just came for 3 or 4 ceremonies and got what she needed. A few people stay for months. A few people are hardcore, and they're staying for 6 or 12 months on some serious apprenticeship programs. And apprenticeship means that you work intensively training shamanically every day of your life there. You live in a hut, literally in isolation, traditionally the way it's been taught. And because of that, you're no longer referencing the outside world. You're actually learning to tune into nature and your inner realms. And the shaman's guiding you to make sure you do this safely. And if something is off, he'll adjust some kind of food you're eating, adjust some kind of medicine. So literally, this is really powerful medicine. It might seem really simple because it's just a bunch of plants they mix together, but many of these shamans have trained 10 or 20 or 30 years, and it's a discipline for them. They were the original physician slash priest slash healer slash medicine people, and they serve all these different roles. So their role in the jungle is really sacred. Because of our interest now as Westerners, they're going to be around to stay. Just maybe 20 or 30 years ago, they were really poor. They were really poor, and they weren't considered that cool or amazing because, I mean, even if it's in your own culture, this kind of healing, you forget. You take it for granted. Some of the local shippeoples just go to the city and just get drunk all the time, and they're alcoholic. In fact, Ricardo was alcoholic before he went back on the path of shamanism. So people have their processes they go through to heal, and shippeoples are not unique. But this is a very powerful medicine. It's an ancient medicine. It's becoming a lot more. There's a lot more of a revival in it. So on those two notes, there's been a lot of interest in potentially going down there as a group. So I'd like people to email me if you have any interest in considering going down after. Yay! Show of hands. Whoa, right on. Ayahuasca boat. So yeah, we may or may not be able to accommodate everybody, but please email me your level of interest, and I will inquire, see if we can maybe do a group airfare rates or something. He does do student discounts. You might be wondering, how much is it? Well, for the public, case by case, it's about $70 a night, which includes room and board, and the medicine, and all the nature you can stand, all the bugs you'd like to make friends with. And as students, it's $50. So it's relatively affordable, and you can get some pretty decent deals on Expedia or Travelocity. So I got a super deal because I kept watching the flights, watching the rates. So I got something a third of what it could have been. So that's something to budget for. I'm considering this the last 2 weeks of September after break, or during break, I should say, after boards. That's one possibility. And also, Joe and I really want to do a longitudinal study on the effects of this whole healing system, because it's not just one component, it's an entire system from A to Z. So if you're interested in participating and collaborating somehow, we might need people to start crunching the data. There might be 30 or 40 patients who come in there a month over a year period. That's some serious data we can get on what people experience. A lot of case studies. I learned so much by talking to the patients there. And I've also talked to Julie Vo about potentially getting this as a clinical site that we can actually get credit for during our rotation years as an off-site. Obviously that has some scheduling considerations. If we're taking other classes that require a presence here, but the fact it's even in motion is the beginning. We might be able to work out something. So these are all possibilities, but I wanted to get an interest level from people and just go from there. Also, thank you to SGA, because I paid for this out of my own pocket, but SGA was kind enough to give me some partial offset of my expenses so I can present this to you guys today, and it's been a lot of work in the making. Did everyone get a chance? Anyone not see the beads? Anyone not see the weave? Anyone not see this the tobacco? Anyone smoke the tobacco? Not share it? Okay. So I have like 4 or 5 minutes for questions. Who has some questions? Anyone have questions? All right. Man.
Give me a minute.
Yes, question.
I don't know if you want to answer this, but did you experience the ayahuasca and if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about your experience?
It was probably one of the most beautiful things I've ever experienced in my life. It was just kind of like the magic of the universe was restored to me. I used to dream about the world being a magical place as a kid, and And somehow it reconnected me with that world of wonder. The world became a magical place. And the shamans talk about seeing the world in a magical way. And that is one of the routes to their healing. So I'd begun writing down and journaling a lot of my experiences there, and it was just phenomenally beautiful. I have no other way of explaining it. It's like dreaming at night, being able to wake inside that dream and then explore what that world is like. And there's also lucid dreaming people can do at night when you go to bed, wake up inside a dream, fly around, explore, learn. So this was a way to do it consciously with a lot of insights. There were so many times I went, oh wow, I didn't even know I knew that. It's an endogenous neurotransmitter that somehow seems to get amplified. So it's like, it taught me about myself. And there were moments I went, I get how this thing is a teacher. I get how this thing is a teacher. And I really felt like there was something lost in translation from that pristine world into what we're being taught today. And it felt like a missing link for me. It really kind of connected me to the roots of what I think naturopathic medicine is about, what it could even be as potential. When you work with plants on such a deep level, not simply as medicine to heal you, but as instructions to teach you. So it was very humbling that way too. Because I thought I knew what I knew about plants, but I didn't know that you could experience them in such a deep way, in a communing way. Yeah, so that was awesome, really awesome. And that's something that has to be experienced to be believed. But I also felt it was really important to do it in a supervised way with a medical doctor, with a shaman who's experienced and trained. And that made it feel very safe. It felt really authentic because this is the way it's been done. So there was a lot of tradition behind it, a lot of tradition with a lot of phenomenal stories. When people, need some serious healing, that's who they go to in the jungle when they're ready to finally just get their work done. Doesn't mean people don't get sick there. People do get sick because they don't take care of themselves like we don't either sometimes, but they have that chance to do that deep work there. Yeah, good stuff. Mm-hmm. And we're 12:54. Time for one or two more questions? Okay, great. Thank you guys. Thank you. I have one more CD I can pass around if you guys want to burn.